Hi and welcome back to some more grumpy ramblings about books. It's a bit later than planned and there's only 2 books that were actually recommended by the librarians this time because frankly they're just slacking at the moment. But I got a few other recommendations and also a few that I picked up for myself. The first book is a librarian recommendation and that is Gilded Cage by Vic James. This one sounded slightly dystopian so I had to give it a try when it was recommended to me. The back cover reads, "A modern Britain, an age-old cruelty. Britain's magically skilled aristocracy compels all commoners to serve them for 10 years, and now it's the Hadleys' turn. Abby Hadley is assigned to England's most ruthless noble family. The secrets she uncovered could win her freedom or break her heart. Her brother Luke is enslaved in a brutal factory town where new friends' ideals might cost him everything. Then, while the elite vie for power, a young aristocrat plots to remake the world with his dark gifts. As Britain moves from anger to defiance, all 3 must take sides, and the consequences of their choices will change everything forever." So it sounded really interesting, a little bit different to what I normally read, but still kind of dystopian in theory. So I thought it might be worth a try, and I'm definitely going to give this one a go. The second book is also a librarian recommendation, but only on a technicality, because I was actually looking for a different book by the same author, but the library didn't have it. But they did recommend this one as an alternative, and this one is called The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Now, I haven't read a book by this author before, but the librarian seemed to think that it might be something that I would enjoy. So I'm going to try him now, and the back cover reads, "A deliciously dark masterwork from the genius who created Coraline, American Gods and Stardust. Nobody Owens, known to his friends as Bod, is a perfectly normal boy, apart from the fact that he lives in a graveyard and is being raised and educated by ghosts, and his guardian belongs to a netherworld of the living... His guardian belongs to neither the world of the living nor the dead. There are dangers and adventures for Bod in the graveyard, the strange but terrible menace of the Sleer, a gravestone entrance to a desert that leads to the city of ghouls, friendship with a witch and so much more. But it is in the land of the living that the real dangers lurk, for it is there that the man Jack lives, and he has already killed Bod's family." So it sounds kind of interesting, a little bit different, so I'm looking forward to reading this one too. The next 2 books were general recommendations made by Brit. She wasn't necessarily recommending them to me personally, but to anybody who was watching. But I thought they sounded quite interesting, so I decided to check them out. The first is called The Book Thief. I know there's no cover on it, but it's in here somewhere. And this is by Mark Suzak. This one was set during the Second World War, which is a period of history that I find very interesting. So it was one that I definitely wanted to try reading. This is also the book that I am reading at the moment. I've finished part 1 so far, and up to now I'm enjoying it. But as far as I can make out, this book seems to be narrated by Death and follows the life of a girl named Liesel. So obviously I don't know much about the story yet because I'm not that far into the book, but it's definitely started well for me. There's no dust jacket for this book, so there's no description, so I'm kind of going in blind, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but as I say, so far I am quite enjoying it. The next book is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This one sounded a bit dystopian, and apparently it's a book that some people are made to read at school. Since I wasn't one of those people, I had no bad feelings towards this book, and I was interested enough to reserve it. So the back cover of this one reads, "Guy Montag is a fireman. His job is to burn books which are forbidden, being the source of all discord and unhappiness. Even so, Montag is unhappy. There is discord in his marriage. Our books hidden in his house. The mechanical hound of the fire department, armed with a lethal hypodermic, escorted by helicopters, is ready to track down those dissidents who defy society to preserve and read books. Ray Bradbury's powerful and poetic prose combines with an uncanny insight into the potential of technology to create a prophetic account of Western civilization's enslavement to the media, drugs and conformity that stands alongside Orwell's 1984 and Huxley's Brave New World." So it sounded like it could potentially be interesting. I have also recently read 1984 by George Orwell, and I really quite enjoyed that book, which I was surprised about. I wasn't sure after Animal Farm if I would enjoy that book, but I did really enjoy that and would have much preferred to have read that one at school rather than Animal Farm. But anyway, this one has been slightly compared to that, so hopefully I will also enjoy this one. In a role reversal, the next book is a book that I recommended to the librarian. This, unfortunately, has come back to bite me on the ass, as the librarian has now reserved it so I can't renew it. Now I've got to get this one finished by the end of the week and return it if I don't want to get fined. Thanks, Librarian. Next time I'll remember to make my recommendations after I finish reading the book. Anyway, this book is called Darkness Follows by L.A. Weatherly. And this is it's the second book in a trilogy. I think it's going to be a trilogy, it could be a series, I'm not sure. And normally I would not read a book from a series that wasn't finished yet, because I do like to be able to read all the books in one go, one after the other. I'm a bit of a binge reader. But when I got the first book out, I didn't actually know it was going to have another book in the series or trilogy or whatever. And this book is set in an alternative past around the 1940s, if I remember rightly. In this version of reality, there is what's called the United Commonwealth, and there are no wars. Rather than fight wars over disagreements or wanting resources, one person will represent each side from their own area or country, and they will do one fight in fighter planes. Then the winning side gets their way, basically, over whatever they were asking for or fighting about or disagreeing over or whatever. But there is another element to this story. A part of the country follow a belief in astrology, and they want astrology to basically be law. I probably can't do justice to this storyline, but basically there is a part of the country that is controlled by rules of astrology or law or whatever, and people can be identified as flawed or broken somehow depending on the time and location of their birth. And they can be imprisoned for that, regardless of any real wrongdoing as we would see it. One of the fights that is to be fought concerns people being able to be extradited to the place where these horoscope criminals can be punished for being born at the wrong time in the wrong place. So this is obviously the second book, like I say, and this follows on from where the first book left off. And the back cover of this one reads, "Welcome to Harmony 5, where the rebellions and the discordant are broken. The rules are simple here, obedience or death. But in a world this dark, what has Amity got to lose?" So yeah, I really enjoyed book 1, so hopefully this won't be like the book 2 flop thing, and I will really enjoy this one as well. So the rest of the books are books that I picked up for myself just because I thought they sounded interesting. And the first is Dangerous Lies by Becca Fitzpatrick. I think this author is better known for her Hush Hush series, although I've never actually read that series. But I have heard people talking about it, seen things written down about it online, and it seems to have quite mixed reviews. But I wanted to make my own mind up about the author's work, and description on the back sounded interesting enough to make me want to give it a go. So the back cover of this one reads, "Stella Gordon's life is a lie. She does not belong in Thunder Basin, Nebraska. As the key witness in a murder trial, Stella is under witness protection, living a life she doesn't want. No one can know who she really is, not even Chet Faulkner, her hot, enigmatic neighbour. But against her better judgment, Stella finds herself falling under Chet's spell." So it sounded quite interesting, not the romantic plot that's clearly going to be in it, but the bit about being under witness protection sounded quite interesting. So I thought, I'm going to give it a go and see if I like it. We'll see. The next book I got is Birdie by Jess Vallance. This was a book and author that I've never heard of before, so I checked it out purely on the basis of the description on the back. And the back cover reads, "Frances Bird has been a loner for so long that she's given up on ever finding real friendship. But then she's asked to show a new girl around school and she begins to think her luck could finally be changing. Eccentric, talkative and just a little bit posh, Alberta is not at all how Frances imagined her best friend could be. But the two girls click immediately and it's not long before they are inseparable. Frances couldn't be happier. As the weeks go on, Frances finds out more about her new friend, her past, her secrets, her plans for the future, and she starts to examine their friendship more closely. Is it perhaps just too good to be true?" So I don't really know what it was about that, but it did make me think, yeah, that sounds like it could be interesting. So hopefully it will be. So my next book is called Without God, Is Everything Permitted? The 20 Big Questions in Ethics by Julian Begini. Now this book is the first non-fiction in this library haul and one of the kinds of non-fiction that I really like reading. I read a book by Mark Horser which I really enjoyed, and this book sounded like it might be a kind of similar style, so I decided that I was going to give it a go. So the back cover reads, "Can it ever be right to kill? Is terrorism ever justified? Should euthanasia be legal? Are some people superior to others? Do animals have rights? Ethical judgments are often tough, with persuasive moral arguments on each side. How do we resolve these dilemmas? Is one side wrong and the other right, or must we just agree to disagree? In Without God, Is Everything Permitted? Best-selling author and philosopher Julian Begini clear-sightedly and compassionately examines 20 of the most complex contemporary ethical dilemmas." So yeah, I usually like this kind of book, so hopefully this one will not be an exception. The next book I got was The Aliens Are Coming by Ben Miller. Now, for anybody who hasn't heard of this author, he's a comedian and I've seen him on a few panel shows where he's talked quite scathingly about what he considers incorrect science. Look him up on his views on homeopathy, just look it up. Now, his description of homeopathy in Room 101 had me in stitches, so when I spotted this on one of the feature shelves I just had to get it. The back cover of this one reads, "Discover the fascinating and cutting-edge science behind the greatest question of all, is there life beyond Earth? For millennia, we have looked up to the stars and wondered whether we are alone in the universe. Now scientists are making huge strides towards answering that question. In The Aliens Are Coming, comedian and best-selling science writer Ben Miller takes us on a fantastic voyage of discovery, from the beginnings of life on Earth to the latest search for alien intelligence. What do you need to kickstart life? How did the teeming energy of the Big Bang end up as frogs, trees and quantity surveyors? How can evolution provide clues about alien life? What might it look like? Probably not green and sexy, sadly. As our probes and manned missions venture out into the solar system, our search for alien life has never been more exciting or better funded. The Aliens Are Coming is a comprehensive, accessible and hugely entertaining guide to that search and our quest to understand the very nature of life itself." So yeah, it sounds like it's going to be quite interesting, and I have found some of the things that he said on science quite funny, so I'm hoping that this one will also be a funny book. So that's it for this library haul, and thankfully this time I made it there and back without any run-ins with overly enthusiastic BT street sellers. As always, if you made it this far without falling asleep, well done and thank you for watching. Bye!